For our Inside of a C-Suite section tonight, Timothy Maurice Webster went to Sandton City to have a chat with the founder and the creator of the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, Dr. Precious Moloi-Motsepe. Take a look.
Today we're going to kick down the doors and go inside the C-Suite, or actually Fashion Week, with Dr. Precious Motsepe. She's executive chairman and a founder, and she's more than just a fashionista. She is an extraordinary human being, and we're about to go in now. This has been your dream and your idea. You can see you really embrace fashion and the power of fashion and how fashion can influence the world. When you first started this, did you have reservations?
No, I never had reservations. I was just very excited to be part of creating something that we as Africans can be very proud of. I wanted to be part of changing perceptions and the conversations around Africa. And for me, I had noticed, like everybody else, that we have very creative people, from our artisans who do beadwork, craftspeople, to a very growing and powerful designer, group that was coming up in the 90s. So I wanted to be part of channeling them to grow within South Africa, on the continent, and globally.
Wow. Yeah. But you came in and really shook things up. I mean, you came in and physically altered the landscape and put the African conversation on the map. And I know it made some people uncomfortable, etc., but it's working. When you look at some of the designers that you've gotten behind and what they're able to do, you must feel really, really proud.
Yes, it was a little bit frightening in the beginning, I must say. We took designers who had never been outside of South Africa, and we took them to Paris to showcase alongside Paris Fashion Week to a select media group, buyers, just to get a feel of what people think and how they view South African and African
processes
fashion. Yes,
and everything.
Exactly. And we were well received. So, that first step, that test, made me realize that we're onto something big.
Really? What are you seeing across the continent?
The beauty with African designers is that they have grown within the continent, and I'm talking broadly across the continent. They've been exposed to a variety of cultures. They have grown in this world. This is their space. They understand African creativity, African aesthetic more than any designer in the world.
Wow.
So we've gone beyond being inspired by African fashion. We are African fashion. We are the African culture, and we can give that to the world in a globally appealing way. So that excites me when I see designers, from South Africa, Nigeria, Tanzania, who sell to global icons like Beyonce, like the First Lady in the United States. That shows me that we have gone beyond just being a trend. We've become part of the global fashion lexicon.
Wherever I've traveled, I've seen so many other designers borrowing from South African designers. Have you noticed?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can name quite a few designers, from your Marc Jacobs, a lot of designers within the Louis Vuitton stable, who have borrowed from African aesthetic. But like I said, I think that African designers can do it better, because we own it.
Sure.
What also excites me is seeing how the Africans in the diaspora have been so excited about showcasing and wearing African designs wherever they are, in New York, in London, because it is, our designers are able to incorporate the local aesthetic and make it global.
Global, absolutely.
So that's very exciting.
Your history as a, working in general practitioner, health and women's rights are very important. We're in International Women's Month. The work you're doing in terms of breast cancer and channeling, why is breast cancer and health issues still so important to you?
When I was studying as a student at Wits University, I noticed how women's issues are really not getting the attention that it required. And I thought, You know, I'm a doctor and I'm a woman, and I understand where most women are coming from. So I went on to educate myself. I went to the University of Virginia in the States. I spent some time at Wits University, Stellenbosch University, perfecting my skills as a women's health practitioner. And then I went on to open my own business here in Rivonia, the first women's health business in Rivonia. And it gave me so much joy because then I could actually educate women on how to take care of themselves. My focus was mostly on preventative care and looking at women at different stages of their lives and making sure that they take ownership of their own health. Yeah.
When did you fall in love with fashion?
Gosh, I think for us, most women, we love the fashion world. But having said that, I think if you look back, you know, within our history as Africans, South Africans, and globally, people have a way of attaching or expressing themselves in the way they dress. Whether it's the Khoi people, the Xhosa people, the Ndebele people, the Zulu people, Afrikaner people, we all have a certain identity. So fashion is not only a flimsy thing that passes. It tells history. It tells where society is at any given time. You know, it's a way that countries and continents can come together through the exports of clothing, through manufacturing in different parts of the world. We are becoming more and more connected. But what appeals me a lot about the fashion industry and why I think it is important is because it's an industry that gives employment to many, many small businesses.
AFI and the very idea of the business was once a spiritual seed in your head, and that's it. If anybody wants to build something this significant that has this type of impact, what are some tips for young women out there who want to put on their executive hat and start thinking about building something like this?
Well, I think first for me, something I'm very passionate about is education. So make sure that you've got your education and you've got the right skills. And secondly, if you've got an idea that you're passionate about, go for it. It's very important that you focus and you make it happen for yourself. And I think lastly for me, I couldn't be where I am today if it wasn't because of the people around me.
Yes.
I always say to young women, just think about how you want to be remembered as a boss, if you're a boss, as an employee, as a mother, as a wife, you know, how do you want people to remember you? And in there goes in your values, and you know, that assists you.
Like, what do you look for in terms of talent?
You know, it's always easy to work with people who are passionate about what they're doing because you can train them in anything.
Sure.
You know, so passion is very important. What drives people? And then, of course, as I said, you've got to make sure that people have the right tools and the right skills to do whatever they need to do. You know, you've got to make sure that they succeed, because when they succeed, you succeed.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to the work of the foundation, how are you balancing everything?
My husband and I were lucky to go to very good universities with the support of others, of course.
Sure,
you know.
sure.
And we've always said to ourselves, if we were to do one thing to give back, what would it be? And it's been around how do we empower others. In the foundation, for instance, we have committed 1,000 bursaries for university students to study around the STEM subjects. Very
science, technology,
exactly.
engineering.
So we look at the continent and say, how do we play our role in growing the economy on the continent? And it's through making sure that we develop those skills that are needed to help us grow. We also support schools competitions there at Stanford, where young people come and sing. Football in schools, netball for girls in schools.
Yeah.
So I think what we're doing here, I've got young designers that we're developing.
Yes.
So it's about development of talent and young people to become successful entrepreneurs. What we do with the foundation, it also has a lot of empowerment, getting people to rely on themselves.
So there's synergy in the group.
I never find that I battle to wear both hats.
Well, that was Dr. Precious Motsepe, the executive chairman of Africa Fashion International. She's got a heart for the runway of life.